All right, boys and girls, here is chapter 4. And last time I asked you, why does Maggie begin to enjoy cursive writing and why does her enjoyment end? Ashton was correct. She responded, Ashton said, because it's at cursive time, she was writing like her parents taught her. Remember, the mom had the little squigglies with the big circle on the top of the I, and she thought it looked fancy and she liked writing that way. But then it all came to an end when her teacher told her her writing was untidy. So now Maggie is not liking cursive handwriting, and she is actually going to rebel against it. What does rebel mean? Think about that as we read. Chapter 4, page 30. Maggie had grown bored with not writing cursive, but by now the whole third grade was interested in her revolt. Each day they watched to see whether she gave in. Her friends talked about it at lunchtime. In the hall, she overheard a fourth grader say, "There goes the girl who won't write in cursive." Many people thought she was brave. Others thought she was acting stupid. Obviously, Maggie could not back down. She had to protect her pride. Courtney and Kelly, best friends who sat opposite one another, did not approve of Maggie. Courtney said, "Only first and second graders print." Kelly said, "I think you're acting dumb, Maggie." Joanne whispered from the next table, "If you are having trouble, maybe I can help you on Saturday." "I'm not having trouble," Maggie whispered back. "I just don't want to do it." Then she worried. What if others thought gifted and talented Maggie couldn't write cursive if she wanted to? Mrs. Leeper handed out several papers with each person's name, first and last, written in perfect cursive at the top. "Today, we practice our signatures," she said, and she looked at Maggie. "Even if we write letters on computers, we must sign them in our own handwriting." Maggie studied her neatly written name. If she wrote Maggie Schultz and not one letter more, would this be giving in? Not really, she decided, if she wrote like a grown-up. While Kirby, a boy who always did what he was told, more or less, gripped his pencil, pressed down so hard he broke the point and had to go to the pencil sharpener, and Courtney and Kelly wrote their pencils, whispering daintily across their papers, Maggie wrote her name the way her father wrote his. Maggie Schultz. On the next line, she wrote her best left hand, which was difficult. Maggie Schultz again. Actually, it looks like Muggy. Have you noticed that in the book? Kirby worked so hard that he needed a rest. He pushed the table into Maggie's stomach. Maggie pushed it back. "Mrs. Leeper," said Courtney, "Kirby and Maggie are wrecking our cursive." They do it all the time, said Kelly. This brought Mrs. Leeper to their table. "See, Mrs. Leeper," said Courtney, pointing. "That is where Kirby pushed the table, and this is where Maggie pushed it back," said Kelly. "I'm sure they won't do it again." Mrs. Leeper tried to look happy as she paused beside Maggie. Maggie quickly curved her arm around her paper and bowed her head as if she was working very, very hard. Why did she really do that? She didn't want her teacher to see her writing, did she? Mrs. Leeper, who often told the class she had eyes in the back of her head, had already seen Maggie's work, if one could really call it work. "Maggie, why are you writing with your left hand when you are right-handed?" said she wanted to know. "That's the way my mother writes," explained Maggie. Mrs. Leeper removed the pencil from Maggie's left hand and placed it in her right hand. "And where are the loops on your G's that we are talking about? Your L and T are leaning over backwards. We don't want our telephone poles to tip over, do we?" "I guess not," said Maggie. Take your paper home and do it over, said Mrs. Leeper. And we must close our A. Your name is not Muggy. Maggie knew she was done for. Muggy, Maggie, whispered Kirby, as Maggie had expected. You keep quiet, Maggie pushed the table into his stomach. Mrs. Leeper, cried Courtney and Kelly at the same time. I thought we were going to have a happy teacher today, said Mrs. Leeper. Let's be good citizens. Maggie was sure she would not have a happy recess, and she did not. Everyone shouted, Muggy Maggie, Muggy Maggie. Kirby started it, of course. He was not a good citizen. So when you looked at the title, Muggy Maggie, did you have any idea when you first started reading the story what that title meant? Probably not. I didn't know what that meant. But now after reading chapter 4, do you know why it's called Muggy Maggie? You sure do. So I'm going to have you comment below, why does Maggie continue to rebel against cursive handwriting? And I want you to also tell me, why do the kids call her Muggy Maggie? What did we just find out? 2 questions to answer. All right, have a great day.